Welcome on into Daggerheart Characters. It's Steve, and it's time to look at another Tinker-based domain class that I have created. So if you're not familiar, the Tinker domain is a class or a domain that I created. You can see my little Tinker domain flag there on the left-hand side of the screen. You get the idea of what the flavor would be, but you can always check out the video to that on the channel. If I'm wise enough, I will give you a link in the description as well to that video, so check that on out. There's also a link in the description to a Google Doc if you wanted to take this engineer out for a test run. I have created a couple of characters for it as well, which may end up in this video, or they'll end up in their own video, and one of those is going to be Santa Claus, like a muscle-bound, gun-toting Santa that I kind of created by accident. I wasn't planning on making Santa Claus originally, but very quickly I decided to kind of make him. So let's get into the engineer domain. Usually I have a write-up. That does take some time, some creativity, and I just have a little extra time right now to do this, to film it before I've gotten to that stage of the writing. But everything else here is done, hopefully, ready out there. You can play test it. Let me know what you think of this domain. Let me know if there's anything, this class, let me know if there's anything that you think is, needs some tuning, especially if you were to take this out for any kind of play testing. Let me know how that goes. So this is an engineer. The domains are the Tinker domain and the Valor domain. Starting evasion of 9 with starting hit points of 7. You're going to start out with a wrench or a coil of insulated wire. For the Engineer's Hope feature, we have Frontline Tank, which already exists in-game. Spend 3 hope to clear 2 armor slots. And we have class feature. This is Bot Buddy. I don't know, there's better names out there, but we're going to have a little bit of fun. Bot Buddy. So you have a robot companion. They stay by your side unless you tell them otherwise. Take the Ranger Companion sheet. When you level up your character, choose a level up option for your companion from this sheet as well. So that is your class feature, is that you're going to have a little robot companion, and it is going to operate the same way that the Ranger Companion sheet works, because I wasn't about to take the time to create a completely different one when we already have a balanced, tested option available that we can just reflavor into a robot instead of an animal. Why not? So that is going to bring us to the engineer subclass options. You get to choose from either the mechanic or the explosive expert, which that one's going to be Santa, believe it or not. The mechanic, play them to advance your companion and keep them around more. Make them, be able to invest in your companion more. The spellcast trait is going to be finesse for both of these subclasses. Your foundation features are going to be simple modification at character creation. Choose a level up option for your companion. So this companion is going to level up, it's going to be a little bit stronger than the Beast-bound Ranger's companion out of the gate. It'll equal out to be just as strong by the time that you get your mastery, or would get your specialization. If you were a Ranger, would equal it out to this as well. But we're going to start off with a little bit stronger of a robot here, and you also get Helpful Bot. Once per rest, spend a hope, and your companion can help an ally. Add one of your companion's experiences to their roll alongside your companion's advantage die. So this is going to be definitely a helping your team kind of subclass here a little bit more with a feature like that. With this feature, quick repair during a short rest. When you take the time to help repair an ally's armor while using the repair armor downtime move on them, clear an additional armor slot on that character. When you do, you also clear 2 armor slots. So this is taken basically just rewritten to clear your armor, and you get those 2 armor slots, whereas it's Soothing Speech is the domain card for the Grace domain that this replicates very closely. All of these, this replicates a Bone domain card, or at least part of that card, and of course a lot of this is taken from the Ranger, and then you have the Guardian's Hope feature. So more than this thing is, it has to be balanced. I can't imagine that this is not balanced for play. I would be very shocked by that, because there's nothing out here that should be too crazy, and they're all really already based on things that exist within the game, and you're getting them around the same period when you could get them in the game for the most part here. So If there's anything, ever any subclass and class that I think is balanced, this would be it. So, mastery features. You get advanced modification, choose 2 additional level up options for your companion, and you get shared connection. Once per long rest, take on the stress from your companion, transfer any number of their marked stress to you, then gain a hope for each stress transferred, and this is also based off of a grace domain card, where you can do this with your allies instead, but this limits it a little bit. And so there we go. Once again, should be quite balanced. That's like a 5th or 6th level card, so it's not even 8th level or higher or anything like that, which is where you take your mastery feature. Not that it would have to be, just saying. So explosive expert. Okay, apparently I didn't quite finish writing up why you would play the explosives expert, but obviously I think you can get an idea of why. Because you want to be an explosives expert. I didn't go all the way because, well, I just didn't. I went a slightly different route than maybe you would expect from the name explosives expert, but it still makes sense in terms of being the subclass name. Your spellcast trait is going to be finesse. You're going to get 1 foundation feature here. It's going to be your smoke grenade. This is going to be a part of your heart and soul for this subclass. At the beginning of your session, place a number of tokens on this card equal to your finesse. Spend a token to throw a smoke grenade at a location within far range. Make a finesse roll of 13. On a success, the area within close range of the target location becomes temporarily obscured. Targets in obscured territory are vulnerable and must make an instinct roll of 12 to move beyond very close range. So they're in this, heavy, smoky fog. You can kind of see their shadow within it. They're vulnerable to you, much easier to hit. And they're a lot more, they're vulnerable. They can't really see out. And in part because they can't see out, movement, getting out of this cloud is going to be a little bit tough for them, especially if they're anywhere near the center of it, because it's going to cover a range of close, and anything outside of very close range, they're going to need to make an instinct roll in order to get out. I think instinct made the most sense. So there we go. That is your smoke grenade. Very much AoE types of features, crowd control, battlefield control is where this expert, explosives expert, is going to thrive. The improved smoke grenade you get for one of your specialization features. You've added some harsh chemicals to some of your smoke grenades. If you decide to throw an improved smoke grenade, any creatures in the obscured territory must also make a reaction roll of 15. On a failure, they take 2d6 physical damage and are temporarily poisoned. When a creature acts while poisoned, they must take an extra 2d6 physical damage if they are still poisoned at the end of their action. So took some influence from one of the sorcerer domain cards, as well as, I shouldn't say sorcerer domain, one of the Arcana domain cards, as well as one of the Codex domain cards, in order to help come up with the damage that this does, essentially, and kind of how it acts. So you should be able to figure out which 2 domain, I can't think of the names of those cards, but the idea here is I didn't want to make things too complicated, so you can just change out, you get those tokens for your smoke grenades. Those tokens count as an improved smoke grenade if you decide to say that it is an improved smoke grenade that you're throwing. Because the thing is you're not going to want to use this all the time because it's indiscriminatory. If your allies are within that range, it is going to potentially poison your allies as well that are in there. So there is that, that limitation or that risk of using this at times. And there's also really no dissipation on here. They don't dissipate really within a scene outside of if the GM it's temporarily obscured, so the GM can spend a fear in order to clear the smoke. Then we've got additional smoke grenades. If you take a rest and have no more smoke grenades, you can place 1 token on your smoke grenade card. And finally, we have our mastery features. And here we're going to work on our bot a little bit. You're going to get explosive companion. You've added an explosive element to your companion's attacks. On your companion's successful attacks, roll an additional damage die and discard the lowest result. So that is one of the features that some weapons have. The second mastery feature is going to be demolition. Your companion gains an extra attack option. They can mark all remaining stress to force all creatures within very close range to make an agility reaction roll of 17. So pretty hard, pretty up there, but they also get to use their agility modifier. And you deal 1d20 physical damage for each stress that was marked. So this is once a companion loses all of their stress, which you have to use all your remaining stress, then the companion goes down up until your next long rest. So that's one of the limiters on this, of course, and one of the costs to using this. On a success, creatures take half damage. This is another one that this is just going to hit everybody within very close range, and it's only within very close range, so it's a rather small area of impact, and you have to invest in getting extra stress for your companion. And what are the odds that you have all of your stress when you go to use this? Or if you do, that probably means that it's early on in the in the day, or maybe after a long rest, and you still have several short rests that you would be without your companion if you were to use this that early on. So I do think there are enough limitations to the fact that you could deal up to 6d20 damage, not including the limitation that at most you can only mark 3 hit points, or maybe 4, depending on the rules that you play by. So I'm hoping that this remains balanced. It is obviously powerful, can do a lot of damage to multiple creatures, but I think that there are enough drawbacks to it as well that it stays balanced. But this would be the one thing in here that maybe isn't balanced. Nonetheless, a cool nuke option. For now, at least. So that is it for the subclasses and the class. I will either end the video right here, or let's go on and look at the characters that I created with these subclasses. Alright, so it looks like we're going to start off with Santa, maybe Claus. Alright, so for the heritage, I went with Wanderborn because Wanderborn, you get that pack that you can spend a hope to grab any kind of mundane item out of. That makes sense for Santa, of course, and that was when it became official I was going to make Santa, as well as the fact that I went with the Kringling Heritage, which is a homebrewed heritage. That video should be out in the world. Moving on, we've got a lot of investment into my traits here. Of course, finesse being the highest. I shouldn't say of course, because actually I'm not going to go with finesse as the highest for the other subclass or character that we're going to look at, the other subclass that I did. But yeah, I invested in these a lot. Strength and presence being the second highest, and then instinct and knowledge, and I didn't keep any at -1. And the Kringling gives you Twinkle Step, which is going to be use a hope to move anywhere, to teleport to anywhere within far range, and don't have to make an agility roll to get there. And then Fruitful Slumber, which is going to allow you during short rests, when you take the any of the short rests that require you to roll 1d4, so anything but the hope one. When you take those short rest options, if you roll a 1 or a 2, you get to re-roll the die, and you can take the higher result of the re-roll or the original roll. And we're, of course, going to go into the specialization and the mastery, because we're showing off a little bit of how this subclass can come together when you use all of the subclass options. Our evasion gets up to 14. There is an asterisk there because that is getting a +2 bonus from our Helm of Awareness, which also gives us a bonus on reaction rolls. And we have 7 armor. We have 6 armor from our Veritas Opal armor. I took that because I thought that, Santa being able to tell when somebody lies when they're close to them would make a lot of sense. So that was the armor that I thought fit that kind of character. And we get an extra 1 from having the Armorer. Obviously, that is a Valor domain card. I put a little asterisk next to what I figure would be like my primary loadout after a long rest. This is going to be anytime I'm going into battle, this is going to be probably the loadout. I would assume would be kind of my go-to to start the adventuring days. So, as you know, we just went over the subclass here. So we get our hope feature is that we can clear 2 armor slots just like the Guardian, and we get a smoke grenade right off the bat, and then once we specialize, we'll get the improved smoke grenade, and we just get a refreshing smoke grenade if we happen to go through all of them during a long rest. After we take a short rest, we will regain 1 token to use to use the smoke grenade or improved smoke grenade features. And once we get to our mastery, our companion that we have, which is our class feature for these, and it works just like the Ranger Companion. In case this video is separate, we get a bonus to the damage that our companion will be doing, as well as a nuke option for the companion for those mastery features. Since we are going to be using Gunslinger all the time, that's the weapon that I have here. Obviously, we might have some backup weaponry and stuff when we play, but just kind of showing you the bare bones here of making this. So this is the rifle from the Tinker domain that you can get at 4th tier. And this is what it does. D8 plus 13 physical damage. It's a two-handed weapon. And when you roll a D8 instead of a D6 like all other weaponry, like all other firearms in Daggerheart, on a 1, you have to mark a stress in order to reload it, basically. So a little bit less, kind of an extended clip you get for these. That's going to bring us on to the minor damage, major damage thresholds, or major damage and severe damage thresholds. There is no difference. We just get that plus 10 bonus for it being level 10. And our hit points, we start at 7, so I only invested in 1 hit point and 1 stress. Once again, we invested in those traits a lot. Did not invest in our experiences. Did not get any extra domain cards along the way. We got our specialization, our mastery, and we did invest in our proficiency. So that's the major power suck. We're going to be doing a lot of damage. So the idea here with this one is that I'm going to be sitting back, and my robot is going to be the tank of the two of us. The other subclass that we do, I'm going to be the tank. My robot's going to kind of be back a little ways at times, at least. And this one might not always be up front, but it only attacks within melee range, and we invested in its attacking. So we'll get to the companion in just a moment. Let's look over our features, but yeah, that's the idea here, is that I'm kind of sitting back. I have complete control of the companion with my finesse all the way up. It should make it pretty easy for me to successfully make spellcast rolls in order to make the companion do things. So we got our Gunslinger, showed you that. Tracking device is what it sounds like. That is a Tinker domain card, allows us to track. Bold presence, so that's part of why we invest in our strength and why we're going to be a muscle-bound Santa when we want to get something done. If our presence isn't quite good enough, which it's high, we can use our bold strength in order to help along with that. Then we have concussive armor. That is a Tinker domain card that I made, and it when you are hit, when you use an armor slot, if you're hit within like melee range, it will do some damage, makes them mark 1 hit point, and then they get sent back to close range. So it is a defensive armor tactic, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Then we've got, and you get a decent amount of those. And then potion craft. So it's an extra downtime move for short rests, where we can make some potion, or we can make a potion and possibly multiple potions. And then armor, which gives us an extra armor slot. And when we during short rest, when we fix our armor, we are also going to be giving our allies an extra armor. Rise up. A little bit of leadership for our Santa, a little bit of a gung-ho guy. Actually, no, Rise Up is not that card. I was thinking it was one of those during critical hits, but Rise Up is going to give us the ability to, it can increase when we have it in. We would get plus 6, we would have 52 to our major damage threshold, or severe damage threshold. And something else for your armor slots. I think when you mark a hit point, you regain a stress, which we don't have a lot of stress, so that also can help. We don't need to use our stress too much, in part because we take a card like Potion Craft, and later we're going to take Duplicate Item, and those just use our short or long rest downtime maneuvers instead of costing any kind of stress or being cards that we'll ever have to pull out of into our loadout, out of our vault. Stunning Flash is going to be a Tinker domain card. It is like a flash grenade. It stuns them, and you get to move away. It kind of works like Vanishing Dodge in some essence. It's a defensive maneuver card when you are missed by an attack. So Concussive Armor when we're hit, Stunning Flash when we're missed. We have a lot of ways to stay away from the fight, even though, we got some beef to us, and we got some evasion to us. At least, it's up to 14 when we have our Helm of Awareness in. I already explained that card. And then Unyielding Armor is a nice way to help make our armor slots go further, and we will be using our armor slots in order to help our tanky companion. So let's get on to our companion. Here he is, Bob 1001, because Bob 1000 is the other companion. We got his evasion up to 14, did not invest in the experiences for him, and the first thing that we would have invested in is this damage. So we got that damage up to D12. He's our primary attacker. He's going to soften him up for us because there is this little feature where on a success with hope, if your next action builds on their success, you gain advantage on the roll. And from my understanding, how people are interpreting this, using this, is that I would get advantage then on an attack roll after he has successfully, with hope, attacked a creature. So that's going to help me to hit them too, following up with him. Or her, it, they, the bot. Attacks within melee range. We got our stress all out. That's going to help us with that nuke option. I kind of wrestled with going all the way for the stress or not. And we're also going to help to be able to preserve that stress, preserve our bot, keep them alive by being able to mark an armor slot for our companion. And awareness, that was our +2 bonuses to our evasion. So those were the upgrades that we made to our companion. This is what Bob 1001 looks like. Looks just like Bob 1000. I'm not an artist. So let's get on to the other subclass. We might as well just start out where we left off with this companion, Bob 1000. Didn't invest in the evasion on this one. He's going to be sitting back. He can attack from far range. That would be one of the first things we'd probably invest in, as well as investing in our companion's experience. Remember, we get 3 extra upgrades once we go all the way to the mastery, but we started off with an extra upgrade right out of the bat at character creation for him. Immediately put that into making my companion more intelligent, which means we get a +1 bonus to an experience, because we do also have the ability to help an ally with our bot's experiences and then add their rolls to that as well. So that is going to be one way that we're going to be a party helper. That is going to be the main thing for this character, is we're more of a support. And our bot's going to help us support as well. We're support and we're tank, complete tank. So we get light in the dark, creature comfort, we get more hope and a way to clear some stress. And then, of course, invested in making this from far range attack. We got our stress all the way up. Maybe could have invested elsewhere, but I wanted the stress up because we do get the ability to share our stress with our bot here in order to gain hope. So I did want this as a bit of an emergency. There might be times where, despite the fact that this is a lower damage dealing, not really a tank bot, I'll just send him right up into battle to get him hit a few times maybe, so that way I have that valve to sell my stress back to him, or they, in order to get some hope in some emergencies. And then we have bonded too, in case we were to go down. We're going to be pretty tanky, but it never hurts to just have that extra valve. So I forgo helping him out with the armor slots. On his own there. We're going to use these stress. He's going to be staying away from the fight, for the most part. So it's all good. And he's going to be a little helper bot. So that's going to bring us on to this next one. So we have Small Town Born as the it's not the heritage. It's not the class, the Born thing. I went all in on showing you guys some of my homebrewed stuff. The Small Town Born is a homebrewed community that I made. There is a video out there with these homebrewed communities. I made a Big City Born, Small Town Born, and then some sort 2 others, and I can't think of off the top of my head, but they're somewhere. So Small Town Born, we get social currency as the feature. So you're always willing to provide a helping hand. When you help an ally, place a token on your community card. You can hold up to 2 tokens. When a player initiates a tag team roll with your character, you can expend 2 tokens to lower the number of hope that they need to spend by 1. So by helping your allies, you get a little bit of a bonus in order to make it a little bit easier for them to work with you in the future. A little bit of feedback for working with the community. And so I figure, and maybe the GM would have to approve this or not, because I think there are ways, rules is written, you could say that it's not you helping the ally, it is the robot helping the ally. But if you can get a token when your companion helps an ally as well, that's just another synergy that this has that I was thinking of when I created this. And Nutcracker is going to be our ancestry feats for Nutcracker, our wooden ward. That's going to allow us anytime a creature within, I think, very close range, or an ally within very close range makes a reaction roll, we can give them advantage on that reaction roll. At a cost. And then De-shelling Bite is going to be a little bit of a bonus to our damage. Anytime that our hope die on a successful attack is a 9+, we get a bonus to our damage of, I think, 2d4, if I recall off the top of my head correctly. Once again, that's going to come from the Christmas-themed ancestries that I made, homebrewed ancestries, like 6 of them in that video. Check that video out. Hopefully I'll remember to put a description or a link to that video here, otherwise it's on the channel. And this is the mechanic subclass, which is focused on building up our companion more, and we get a couple of companion features. If you don't recall, we're going to get that shared connection, which allows us once per long rest to take stress off from our companion and gain a hope for each stress that we clear from the companion and mark on our own, as well as quick repair during a short rest when you take the time to help repair an ally's armor. While using the repair armor downtime move on them, clear an additional armor slot on that character. When you do, you also clear 2 armor slots. And Helpful Bot, which was once per rest, spend a hope and your companion can help an ally and add an experience to it alongside with the advantage die. So this is the end result at level 10. I obviously did not invest in the character traits so much on this one. 1 extra time I invested in them, and might have been a mistake to keep the finesse this low because that's how I control my bot, but I also thought it was kind of in character for this. It is kind of the part of the character that I imagined for this, like, not the best tinkerer, honestly, not the best engineer, maybe a little bit more concerned with his looks here. You can see the strength up at 5, being strong, and so there is this element that I don't have the best control of my bot, which I thought was funny, but maybe we make that 2, or maybe knowledge only 3, but we did get our knowledge up for one of the tinkering domain cards that we'll take up later. And that's so we can help allies more. That's really synergistic for this class, that domain card. I'll read that one when we get to it. So I took the Advanced Hollow Axe and then a Legendary Tower Shield as my primary and secondary weaponry here. So we get 5 armor slots from this. We have Bare Bones as one of our Valor domain cards, which gives us 3+ our strength, so that's part of why I invested in my strength here. It gives us 8, that's 13, and then we also get a bonus from one of the domain cards. Enhancement for the Tinker domain allows us to get 2 bonuses, just like the Vitality card works for the Blade domain. And those bonuses that I took were +1 armor slot and +3 to my damage rolls. So we didn't invest in our proficiency at all, but we are going to get buffs to our damage rolls. I believe I already have the +3 added here that you can see. So yeah, we're not the highest damage dealing, but we are going to have a few things that are going to buff up our damage, our base damage that we're dealing, at times at least. I'll show you one of those soon, but as you can see, we have our hit point slots cracked up. Our major domain, our threshold for major damage should be 25, and then 48 for the severe damage. I forgot to fill that in. Apparently, same hope feature, and we invested in our stress some here as well. And that's going to bring us on to our experiences. We did invest in our experiences twice. Once again, our armor is just the bare bones. We're going to always have that in. And then I didn't include any other domain cards that might have boosted up anything. I didn't do like I did with the previous one where I chose my go-to loadout. But these are the domain cards that I chose. I Am Your Shield going to be in there very often. Body Basher is going to allow us to add 5 more damage to our attacks whenever we are using that. So this would be up to +15 for magic damage, and then when we want to deal physical damage, that'd be up to +14 there. I Am Your Shield, that's a Valor domain card, so I don't need to go over that. Weapon Charge is a Tinker domain card. This, when we deal damage based on how much, if it's minor, severe, major damage, We're going to get to roll a die of a certain value depending on that, and the more damage we do, the more likely that we're going to charge our weapon. We put a charge token on it when we want, we release the charge, and then we get a +1 bonus to our proficiency until the end of that scene. Then Goad Them On is a Valor Domain card. Once again, we are going to be the tank, so this is going to help us to draw aggro. We've got Enhancement. I looked over that one. That's a Tinker Domain card. Rousing Strike. We are part of, being a frontline leader here, so, when we get that's going to be a bonus when we get a critical hit. If we have that card active. I do wonder how effective those are, because you have to have them out. Then we have Protection Sensor. This is a Tinker Domain card. It very much works like a Splendor Domain card, and similarly as well to a Blood Domain card, where we can help reduce damage within a certain area, either physical or magical damage. We get to choose which one, and then we put a die down and it reduces damage until the die gets erased. Then I took Ground Pound just for a little bit of area control type of feature, or when there are a lot of creatures, a way to deal damage to multiple creatures, and then Knowledge's Power is the one that's going to use our knowledge, and I'm going to have to read this card off. After a long rest, place a number of d8 equal to your knowledge on this card, a minimum of 1. You can spend a die, roll it, and add the result to an action roll, a tag team roll, as your help and ally advantage die, so instead of a d6 advantage, they get a d8 advantage die, or to clear a number of stress equal to the result. At the start of a long rest, clear any remaining dice. So it's kind of like a bardic die, but it does a few different things in the bardic die, and you can't hand it out. It's only for yourself, and you get multiple of them. And so that's why we invested in our knowledge. We're going to use those, and then we have Hold the Line. So just like Goad Them On is going to be another way where we can, pull in aggro and keep them there, a little field control as well, battlefield control. So that is the engineer, the mechanic engineer, our nutcracker from a small town, protecting our allies, using them armor slots. That's it. Those are everything for the video. Thank you so very much for tuning on in. I hope you enjoyed all of this. Take care, and maybe I'll be getting this out before Christmas, so Merry Christmas if I do. Bye-bye.